Welcome back to the SLOBCAST. This is the weekly podcast where I talk about my life as a professional Twitch broadcaster. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about what I call the channel gamble. But before we break down exactly what that means, for those that are listening on YouTube, you can also find me on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, as well as on my live streams every single morning starting at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and Sundays at noon at twitch.tv/deadlyslob, as well as daily YouTube videos at youtube.com/deadlyslob. So what can happen in a lot of Twitch broadcasters' careers is they start streaming a game that they really love, and they're growing a pretty good audience, and they're known in the community for, I don't know, just running entertaining streams, being a high quality player, making YouTube videos, you name it. They're just a well-known player in that game category. And slowly over years, it typically doesn't happen overnight, but usually over years of time, the game maybe doesn't get developed, the competitive scene starts to die out, and people start moving away to different games, especially if there's a brand new AAA title that gets released and really takes hold on Twitch in your game category. It can definitely drive a lot of people away, seeking out different broadcasters that they may find more entertaining than you just because they're playing something that's current and up to date. And then you're sort of left being like, well, I have something that's really good going. I'm being fairly successful in this category, but I'm not really going anywhere. I've sort of hit this plateau and I'm stuck and I'm not too sure exactly what to do. I think the safest approach in that situation is to just keep up the grind and continue doing what you're doing, because obviously you've grown something, you have some followers, you have some viewers, and you don't really want to squander that because you know how long it's taken you to get to that point where you can just get some viewers in watching you play this game. So the idea of completely stopping that game and then going over and checking out something new, and you don't really know exactly how your viewers are going to take it, and you don't know if the category itself is going to keep that as its quote-unquote primary game for how long. You might jump onto a project, think it's going to be the next big game, and then in a week it's completely dead and no one's playing it anymore. I'm looking at you, Survive the Nights. You're probably one of the most recent games in my category that a lot of people immediately jumped on, and then a few days later, nobody streamed it at all because it was obviously not a very good game. So a lot of DayZ people were very excited for Survive the Nights because they wanted to jump over and try something new, and it didn't really pan out at all. But don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discourage you from trying new opportunities. In fact, you should be trying every new opportunity that's relatable to your game's category. And whenever you are new to streaming, this can take a little bit of time to get used to, especially keeping up on like all of the brand new games that are coming out. I do a terrible job at this. This is something that I personally can do better. So you're not really learning from the best of the best, but you should always be keeping an eye out on games that are going to be coming down the pipeline that your viewers might like, and also a game category that might surprise you and actually build a really big established Twitch community, and something that you might be able to broadcast full time in, right? So you want to be very mindful and keep your eyes open for those types of games. The only way that you can do that is trying new opportunities. If all of the people that are streaming in the same category as you around the same time are all on a new game, checking it out, you should start to maybe keep your eye on that, or possibly play it yourself, because there's going to be viewers that want to watch that game. Obviously, it's very relatable to what you're doing, and they want to see your perspective on it. So the more that you can do that, the better. There are times though that it's like it's a coin toss basically. Because at the same time, if all of the biggest broadcasters in your category are not streaming and you are streaming, you're filling that void. So there's a big dichotomy here, as my man Jocko Willink would say. And this is why I call this the channel gamble. Because it has a lot of luck and a lot of probability and a lot of decisions that you need to make. And if you make the right choices, they can massively benefit your channel greatly. And that could be staying in category or leaving. So we're going to expand on this topic today. It's going to be the primary topic of discussion for this entire podcast. So It's a question that I get from viewers and fellow streamers alike, and I've talked to many people about this, especially one-on-one on a personal level, people who've made these jumps and have been successful, and those that have made the jump and have unfortunately lost. So you're probably wondering, hey, you got everything, you get the viewers, you're getting followers, you're getting some success, you're making a little bit of money, possibly enough to stream full time. Why would somebody jeopardize what they've already built and quote unquote gamble it to try to become more successful? Well, there's a lot of different factors. Number one, you might start hating the game that you're playing. You play it so much, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours every single day, I'm assuming, or at least 5 days a week. That can be challenging. Not everybody enjoys that type of gaming experience. Obviously, streaming is a little bit different than just playing video games, but you kind of get the idea. You might start burning out, and that's not good, because the moment you start burning out on the game, you're going to start burning out on the broadcast too, and people are going to start to notice that. So that's one of the primary reasons why you might consider switching games. Number two, you kind of still enjoy the game that you're playing, but there's really no more growth opportunity. That means that you've been streaming for like 6 to 12 months in the same category, and you are steadily growing, but you're also declining at the same time. So you're in a plateau situation. You're streaming every single day. People know you in that category, and you are considered one of the most popular broadcasters in that category by many people, but you might only have 200, 300, 400 viewers. That's a telling sign. If you are not in a category where people are sometimes getting over 1,000 views, that's a bit of a yellow flag. I think there are definitely areas of Twitch where there are thriving communities with channels that don't get that many views, but it is certainly something that you need to be mindful of. So if that starts happening, you need to possibly consider switching game categories so there's more growth opportunity for your channel, especially if you're in that position where you're just not quite making enough money to consider doing this part-time or full-time, and you've been streaming for a very long time and you're just unable to make that final leap that is required to live out your dream. Sometimes you might have to put the channel gamble on the line. And then there's broadcasters that really want to take a leap of faith and switch categories, even though their category is healthy. It's doing fine. They're in a reasonable position. They may not be growing as fast as they'd like, but they're still growing. They're still making an impact. They're known in that community. But you want to switch to a brand new game category that is just, that it has the opportunity for you to become a bigger personality. So there's equal success to be had in both areas. You just want to try to basically climb up the ladder a little bit more. And instead of being in that like 6th or 7th slot, you're in that 2nd or 3rd slot, or possibly even the 1st slot. You could become the guy or the girl for that particular game. And if you're looking to branch out and jump into another category, you are trying to avoid being categorized as a one game only broadcaster. And I can certainly relate to this because everybody used to tell me that I was only a DayZ streamer and I would only be ever a DayZ broadcaster. And if you get told that every now and again for months, if not years, and you are primarily playing DayZ like 99% of the time, that can definitely get into your head. And I think that is the wrong approach. I was actually talking to another Twitch broadcaster named Chicken Prism about this recently. He's a Escape from Tarkov broadcaster, and he's now starting to basically communicate that he is a survival shooter streamer. No longer just saying that he's an Escape from Tarkov broadcaster. And that's the same thing as just playing one game. Although it's very beneficial to do that, there are a few drawbacks if you are fully committed for years at a time. That's why I always say that I'm a survival shooter player, because I know for a fact that Tarkov will not last forever, the same way that DayZ has not lasted forever. Games shift and move, but categories typically remain. In fact, it might not be a bad idea to just call yourself a broadcaster, especially if you're into variety gaming, but I do like to narrow it down a little bit so new viewers get an idea of what kind of games that they can expect on the channel. The strategy on playing a single game on what I call the grind is really important, but actively acknowledging that fact might not be so good for you, because the moment that a new opportunity might present itself, or in the chance that, or the probability of your game category just dying, you are going to be left behind when there's going to be other broadcasters that have marketed themselves in a position where it's expected of them to be trying out these types of games in a specific category or genre, instead of you kind of just being known for this one specific type of game. So if you're listening to this and you can relate to what I am saying, then you might get to the point where it's time to deploy the channel gamble. You need to make a decision about moving to a different game category or playing a different game full time in order to attempt to make it benefit your channel. But in the early days, you will almost always certainly lose unless you're already in a position where you're getting many hundreds, if not thousands of viewers. If you're already in the position where you're getting over 1,000 viewers a stream, you will most likely succeed in almost every new game category, because it's likely that you'll be in the top 8 at the very least. And at most, you could be in the number 1 or number 2 slot for a brand new AAA game, or a brand new game that's just really trending. So let's get some numbers to basically give you an example. Let's say that you have 100 viewers a stream. The moment that you decide to switch to a brand new game and actually commit to it full time on your Twitch career, you're probably going to notice like a 50 to 60% viewer decline right away. People don't want to watch games that they're not interested in. Even if you're actively trying to make the viewers interested in that game, it's going to take a little bit of time, and there's going to be a transitional period where a lot of your old viewers might just not like this new decision. They really like you playing X, and now you want to start playing Y. And it's going to be a little turbulent. There's going to be people that are going to protest that. There are going to be viewers that are saying, oh, we should switch games. Like, you should play game X, even though you're playing game Y, or game X is better than game Y. Or, you know, this game sucks. Like, why are you playing it? There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be upset with that. But at the same time, there's going to be a percentage of your community that is understanding and happy with the change, and they want to see something fresh and exciting, because seeing the same game over and over and over again can get boring. I understand that. Now, after about a month or two, you're going to start to notice that even though you had 30 viewers at the beginning of the game change, now you have 60. And things are starting to grow much faster than they did previously in your old game category. Even though that you were more successful, arguably more successful in the previous game category, you're now seeing a faster rate of growth with your new game. And then slowly over 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you'll regain to the point that you were at with your older game, but maintaining that positive growth. So you're growing much faster than your old category. And that sort of trebuchets, it sort of launches you further than where you could have gotten before. And possibly 12 months later, you are now double the size, or possibly triple, or just growing exponentially, and the fire is under your butt, and the people are seeing the growth, seeing the increase. People are attracted to success on Twitch. So if they see a channel that is just coming out of nowhere and getting thousands and thousands of new followers and lots of new subscribers and gaining viewership, people want to jump on that train and be a part of something new and exciting. Even though that you might be an old broadcaster, just taking that risk is enough to put yourself in a position where you're advertising to so many new people who have never seen you before. So to them, you're brand new and you're fresh again. But remember, that's the best possible scenario, and it's a gamble, and it doesn't always work. So you switch game categories, you lose that 40, 50, 60 viewership, you have that 30 viewers that are in your channel. People are rioting and complaining just like before. They're complaining about game Y, they want to see game X, but the growth just doesn't get there. So you sort of stagnant for a month, and you have 30 viewers. The next month, you have 25. And then you're kind of wondering and panicking, like, shit, like, was this a good choice? You waited out a little bit longer, you go down to 15 viewers, and you panic. And you're like, damn it, this was not worth it. I need to go back So you switch back to your original game category, and people are bitter that you decided to leave and may not want to watch you, or the category is even deader than it was before because there's less people streaming it because more people are moving away from the game. So challenging, right? You've basically were on the grind every single day. You built up that concurrent viewership to 100. You switched game categories for a little while, for a couple months. You went way back down to 30. You switch back to your original category, and the success just is not there. So this has happened to me, and this has happened to a number of other broadcasters. I will not mention people's names because when this happens, it is just absolutely devastating, and it sucks. But there was one person that I know of, was fairly close with, who was getting about 300 viewers concurrently a broadcast in DayZ, and was quickly becoming one of the biggest broadcasters in the category. He was a nighttime broadcaster. And through that viewership, there was multiple other games that were coming out at the time that were sort of like survival roleplay related. So there was lots of big roleplay broadcasters. Most of these guys are playing Grand Theft Auto RP these days, but a lot of the role-playing community just would jump on like Ark and other types of games and just roleplay. So that individual did that, moved from DayZ with the big viewership, the big concurrent audience, started doing some roleplay pretty hard, and people were just not into it, but he was doing the channel gamble, right? The channel gamble can sometimes make you succeed, and you might actually become larger. But unfortunately, that just did not happen, and the RP community moves very quick. So one game comes out, then another, then another, then another, and everyone's trying to roleplay and tell their story and attract that individual attention. And then after a few months, you realize that you've lost a good 60% of the audience that you once had in your DayZ category, and you switch back, and it just never got there, and it can be very demotivating. It also happened to me, and my story with the channel gamble was with H1Z1 Just Survive. So DayZ would have been, I want to say it was DayZ 0.58 or 0.59. This would have been in late, I want to say late, I really want to say late 2015, but it also could have been late 2014. Basically, whenever H1Z1 came out, that would have been like a January or a February. So playing a lot of DayZ, kind of getting, a little bit of success. I believe this was this was absolutely late 2014. Sorry, messing around with all my dates. So it would have been around October, November, December of 2014. I just got my Twitch partnership, actually. I was getting about 150 concurrent viewers, and H1Z1 was just around the corner because they wanted to launch their game based off the hype of DayZ standalone and create a better game to pull over that audience and the streamers and all that hype. So what I did was I decided that from the moment that H1Z1 started, I would stream that game 100% cold turkey and just give up DayZ for a little while and see how it went. It was an absolute disaster. It did not work at all. I went from having 150 viewers to about 20 to 30 viewers while playing H1Z1. Mind you, I made a lot of mistakes. So many mistakes. Unbelievable amount of mistakes that I know and learned lessons, partially because of those mistakes. And one of them was grouping way too much, having groups of 5, 6, 7, 8 other survivors all on a TeamSpeak server together, all talking over each other. So you were basically just playing the game and not streaming. I was just playing the game with a group of friends, and because I had so many different people to communicate with in the game, I could not give the chat any opportunity to engage. And because of that reason, nobody wanted to watch my stream because I wasn't an engaging broadcaster. And also, there was, by that time, I missed the mark. There was already dozens of really popular H1Z1 broadcasters that were in the top slot category, and I was completely buried to close to the very bottom of the list. I think I gained 20 followers that month. keep in mind, these days I get about 150 followers a day. So for the entire month, I got like less than a follow a day. And I went back to DayZ, and I was hit extremely hard because of that. Instead of having that 150 viewer concurrent that I was expecting on a regular basis, I was getting around 60 or 70 and back on the grind again. And you can learn more about that specific journey and the struggles with that in episode 1. I get very specific with it. But yeah, that was shortly after my partnership, and I really killed my momentum. But even though that it was a failure, there is so many valuable lessons that I learned in making that choice that I actually don't regret it today, because I'm communicating this message to you, somebody that might not have been in that position yet on Twitch, and you might be considering making that move. At least know that there are definite warnings that come along with that. Even though you might want to follow your gut, you can make mistakes. I guess maybe the moral of the story here is, even if you make mistakes, there's lessons that can be learned from them. Like, that's one of the most obvious things people can say to you, but in this case, it's definitely true. So it can take a little bit of time. Now, maybe the reason why I failed as well was because I switched and went cold turkey. And that might not necessarily be good, because you are just throwing your entire community at that game and you don't really know how they're going to react. But because the way Twitch works, you want to commit full time, you go 100% for weeks, if not months. And then at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. I don't believe that is the best strategy, but it can be. That's why it's the gamble, man. It can be, though, because if it's a brand new game and you're in there 100% of the time in the early day, people are going to learn to watch you because you're the most experienced and skilled. Right? It's a tough call. You can alternate days. So like on Monday, you could be playing DayZ. Tuesday, you could be playing Conan. Wednesday, you can be playing DayZ. Thursday, you could be playing Conan. Friday, you could be playing DayZ. You know, cycle it, switch it up. So you can basically give the viewers what you want, or what they want, and then you can play and see how they're going to interact in another game category, but they're not too bummed out because they know the next day they're going to get something that they want, but they might start liking that other game whenever you play it more than their original game. So it's like you might want to slowly introduce them over many weeks, many months, and getting them accustomed to you switching to that game. Or you could even do it during your broadcast too. And this is actually what I did. So I started off, when I wanted to switch out of the DayZ category, it would have been around July of 2017. A brand new Escape from Tarkov patch came out, and I knew this was going to be the patch where I start streaming the game. I've already been playing it for up to 6 months, 7 months at this point, but the game was not in a state where I could just play it 5-6 hours a day and really enjoy it, because it was very early on in the game's development. But this was a significant patch because it introduced so much content into the game and really allowed it to become a streaming game. And I knew that because I was keeping my eye on the game. So I started doing 50% DayZ, or about, I would argue 75% DayZ, 25% Tarkov. So the final hour or two of the stream, I started playing Tarkov. And people started to get introduced to the game. They started to see what it was like. Next week, I would do 50-50. So I would do about 3 hours of DayZ, 3 hours of Tarkov. And I would continue that over and over and over again until around late August, September. And that's when I started doing alternate days. So my channel was already introduced to the game. They started to get some exposure to it. Then I would do DayZ, Tarkov. And then in late September, I started noticing that people were really excited and enthusiastic whenever I played Tarkov, and I started to grow. Even though I got more viewers on DayZ, the chat was really dead. I wasn't getting any growth. Even though I was getting more viewers, it just wasn't going anywhere. People wanted to see Tarkov. People were more excited. The fire was there in Tarkov. And I started playing that game every single day. I went from 500 viewers to 200 viewers a stream. So from DayZ to Tarkov. And took me about 2 or 3 months to regrow, to get to the point where I was actually getting the same viewers as I was getting in DayZ. And then after that, I was just starting to grow. And that growth was also due to the fact that the gamble paid off in a big way, because some of the biggest broadcasters on Twitch, like Shroud and Grims and Sequisha, all three of those guys came into the game at the exact same time. I don't even know why. They just did. They just jumped into the game, and I was in there, and now I was in one of the top slots because I put in the time, and it just exploded everybody's growth. All the Tarkov streamers grew in that time frame, and that's when the hype began. And I won the gamble. I won the channel gamble. I was in a position where I tripled the growth of my channel in a very short period of time due to hard work, but a hell of a lot of luck. Now, there's a few things that you should do whenever you lose. I would say expect to work harder, even more so than you did before, because if you actually go and change categories and you spend a month in there and you notice it's just not working out, you will lose time. It's going to happen to everybody. Just relax and just understand that you've done it before and you can do it again. So get back in your original category and try to regain the viewers that you've lost. And the moment that you see another opportunity, get after it and see if you can actually notice some positive growth. I think it's important to keep your eye on the viewer count. It might not be the most important aspect of whenever you switch categories. I think it's chat activity. That's like one of the most important things, because people are attracted to communities that are active. Whenever you're getting a lot of new followers, a lot of new people that are in the chat communicating, I would much rather run a 200 viewer Escape from Tarkov broadcast with a very active chat than a 450 viewer DayZ stream with a dead chat. It just leads to growth. It just leads to community building and entertainment. The chat itself is an incredibly entertaining aspect of Twitch. There's a lot of channels online that almost survive because of how entertaining and crazy the chats are. Many channels are out there just because they're crazy chats. So that activity, that fire, that growth is what you want to look for. And you can see that using websites like Social Blade, but Twitch's analytics is by far the best. Like I've said that before in a previous podcast, but it's really true. They give you everything that you need to know and more in that new channel analytical section. So definitely check it out. And I think with each failure, try to extract a lesson from it. And that just doesn't go for the quote unquote channel gamble. That goes for everything in Twitch and almost everything in life. You can learn something. So if you switch games and you notice that the gamble didn't pay off, why? Why didn't it pay off? Maybe rewatch your broadcast at certain moments that you noticed that the chat was being dead, and then also whenever it was being really active, and make some mental notes so you can recognize that when it happens again, so you can start to lead your channel in the right direction. Keep an eye on your analytics. When a game change works and when it doesn't, you should try to understand why that's happening. So, in summary, a channel gamble is whenever you decide to make a risky change from one game category that is doing really well for you to another category that is completely unknown. You might double, triple, quadruple your growth, get into an exponential growth situation, or it just might not work out for you at all, and you're going to lose some of that you've already gained. You're basically going to lose some viewers. The only other thing that I can say for this podcast is give it a shot. See where it leads. Pay attention, and I hope it will work out for you. Or I hope that you heeded some of the warnings in this podcast for mistakes that I've made and from what I've witnessed from other viewers as well. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast on the channel gamble. If you found it interesting, then go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/deadlyslob, and leave a comment on the SLOBCAST video and let me know what you think, as well as ask some questions, because next week we're going to be doing another Q&A. So I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say, and it can be about Twitch, the games that I play, or anything that you guys want. We can get a little deep next week. So have a fantastic one. Thank you again for listening. For those that might be new, you can listen on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and on YouTube, as well as daily broadcasts on Twitch.